イヤルネイビーのパーシウス。
Yes! Yes!
Hey guys, this is Tabiasovian Today we release the Kraken as I review Azur Lane's passive-aggressive healer from the Royal Navy, Perseus. Yeah, so Perseus was actually the ship that I was looking forward to the most during the inaugural Aurora Noctis event, where she made her debut as a character that you could get from the limited construction pool. I mean, Hao was pretty good. Well, actually, Hao is more than pretty good. She's really good. But as someone who likes ships with unique or offbeat mechanics, Perseus was the one that really caught my eye when the previews first started coming out. Needless to say, I was pretty stoked once the telltale timer of 2 hours and 30 minutes popped up while I was throwing cubes at my screen during event construction. Bye-bye, my cubes. We all know how that feels. Since then, I've used Perseus a lot and also got her past 100 and also maxed out her skills. So now that I've got plenty of experience using the ship in battles, I figured now is a good time to share my thoughts about Her Majesty's ship. First off, let's talk about her design. The Azur Lane illustrations by artist King Korra, who also worked on Dido, Formidable, Sirius, and Tashkent, have always been among my favorite designs in the game. The good news is Perseus certainly continues that trend. From her fluttering hair, billowing dress, angel wings, and elegant rigging, Perseus exudes an almost heavenly look that projects an anime-style design with Hellenic sensibilities. Or I guess I should just say ancient Greece instead of Hellenic. Throwing some words out there. The addition of an owl, which is typically associated with the Greek goddess Athena, is also a nice touch. This is especially true for fans of the original Clash of the Titans movie from 1988, where the protagonist, Perseus, that's right, Perseus, what a coincidence. Yeah, so Perseus was gifted a mechanical owl named Bubo in that movie.
His name is Bubo.
So props to folks who know that little bit of trivia. Anyway, Perseus' graceful design also serves as a strong counterpoint to her surprisingly rough personality. I mean, given her look, I was expecting her to portray a kind and dignified countenance, so to speak. So imagine my shock, I tell ya, when I first interacted with her and found myself face to face with a pouty, passive-aggressive ship girl instead. I mean, it's just like pretty much the opposite of How. How you doing? Wanna have some cookies? Not this girl. Now, admittedly, Perseus' attitude was disconcerting at first. However, as the relationship between her and my Shikikan character improved, I realized that Perseus is just an awkward character who has a hard time communicating and expressing herself. Eventually, I actually found myself cracking up when I hear her seemingly muttering to herself in a corner somewhere about personal issues and her own inadequacies. I especially found these moments comical since the words coming out of her mouth totally do not match her cute, angelic exterior. Her seiyuu, or voice actress Naomi Ozora, also does a great job in portraying the character's personality. So in short, I must say that her attitude has since grown on me, and she's definitely one of my favorite characters in the game now. Anyway, moving on, let's look at the numbers. With a max base HP of 5,540, Perseus ranks pretty much in the middle for all carriers in the game. At the same time, she's actually tanky for a light carrier, as she's second only to Centaur among all CVLs in the game as of her release. I mean, let's face it, Centaur is pretty much a regular carrier, masquerading as a light carrier. Perseus even has more HP than a couple of regular aircraft carriers, including regular Hiryu and Soryu, as well as Soryu retrofit and then some event ones. Perseus also boasts the 5th highest evasion or EVA stat among all carriers, which certainly helps as far as survivability is concerned. Just note that being a light carrier, Perseus has medium armor, so you'll want to be careful against battleships, especially those that use AP shells or piercing ammo. Her aviation or AVI stat, meanwhile, is rated as an A in-game and actually compares favorably with other light carriers. Her max aviation of 327 ends up in the bottom third, however, once regular carriers are also factored in. Still, it's only a few points below Shouho Retrofit and actually beats Unicorn, with those two serving as her primary competition. The only issue is that her efficiency for planes tops out at 100%, which isn't bad but isn't impressive either. As far as reload, Perseus' base stats maxes out at 168. This actually places her in the top third of all carriers. It's actually important to consider the stat in relation to her Mercury's Talaria skill, which I will talk more about next as we go over Perseus' particular set of skills. Like Liam Neeson. So, Perseus boasts 3 skills that differentiate her from other healers in the game. The first is the aforementioned Mercury's Talaria, which serves as her primary healing skill. The ability allows her to heal all Vanguard ships by 7% of their max HP when it reaches level 10. On top of that, it also allows Perseus to heal the main fleet or backline by 3.5%, which is actually one of the things about her that caught my interest when she was first announced. Because as you know, backline healing usually isn't readily available here. What's more, maxing out the skill allows Perseus to preload not 1, but 2 of her Mercury's Talaria airstrikes. The only caveat is that her airstrike cooldown nearly doubles with a 90% increase in the time it takes to prep her next airstrike once you send your preloaded planes out. So basically her airstrike time gets nerfed once you do those first 2 preloaded airstrikes. And then there's Perseus' second skill, which is called Athena's Catapult. This basically sends out a special airstrike every 12 seconds. The type of planes are random and either comprise a Sea Hornet, TBF Avenger, or Fairy Firefly Squadron. Yeah, say that 10 times super quick. As far as damage, it basically depends on how high you level up the skill. And then Perseus' third skill, Waters of Styx, is actually pretty unique. In addition to increasing her hangar size up to 3, it also heals 1% of the max HP of all ships in her current fleet every 20 seconds. That might not sound like much, but it still adds up to about 3% within a minute of fighting. What makes it even more interesting is the fact that it will also heal ships in the fleet that Perseus is not in. Basically, 20 seconds after your other fleet launches, Perseus will heal them for 3% of their max HP. Again, it might not seem like much, but it's great for, say, healing some of the initial damage that your boss fleet sustains at the start of a skirmish before the boss shows up. In fact, I've had some fights where if it weren't for that little 3%, I would have lost the ship. Like, literally, they just had micro fractions of health left after I finished the round. Now, as far as her place in the meta, Perseus is actually rated as a tier 0 ship for healing, and ranks either first in front of Ryuho, or second just behind that Japanese light carrier, depending on which Chinese tier list you look at. Now, for folks unfamiliar with tier lists, they basically rank the viability of the ships for the hardest map in the game, which is World 13 as of this video. And then tier 0 is the highest, followed by 1, 2, and then 3, and so forth. In terms of how Perseus compares to other healers, it basically depends on what type of healing you need. Arizona, for example, is primarily a battleship that happens to also have a chance to heal, so her role is different from Perseus. Arizona's heal can also be inconsistent, so you normally don't use her as a primary healer in stages that require major healing. And then as far as in comparison with the support skills from Akashi and Vestal, those two are primarily used outside of battle, where they can heal with repair kits and also extend the number of fights that a fleet can engage in before they run out of ammo. When in battle, however, their role switches more to anti-air support since they can equip 2 AA guns and their healing isn't quite as punchy as the other healers. And then Ryuho, on the other hand, specializes in focused heals, so instead of healing a group of ships, she targets the most damaged ship, making her especially good for sortying with fleets that have squisher ships like destroyers in their vanguard. In that sense, Perseus' main competition role-wise would be either Unicorn or Shouho, with Unicorn being the closest competition. Anyway, let's see how she stacks up against these two. So in terms of healing, Unicorn and Shouho can heal 8% of the Vanguard's health, while Perseus' frontline healing is a smidgen lower at 7%. Then again, Perseus can also heal 3.5% of your backline ship's max HP, which Unicorn and Shouho can't do. That's definitely worth the 1% reduction in frontline healing. And then add the extra healing from Waters of Styx, including the ability to heal the fleet that Perseus is not in, and her overall healing output exceeds the other two, especially within the first minute or so. I mean, just looking at it roughly, with her 2 preloaded airstrikes, plus her 3rd regular airstrike after that, and the extra heals from Waters of Styx, you're looking at about 24% HP healed for the Vanguard, and then 13.5% healed for the backline in the first minute, versus 16% for the Vanguard only with Unicorn and Shoho. And those are just rough estimates based on what your gear is and whether or not you've enhanced their reload speeds. Having 2 preloaded heals is also great for mob fleets, as it allows you to either tap out or at least recover a nice amount of health for your ships at the beginning of a fight if they happen to receive damage from a previous sortie. There will be times when I'm using Unicorn or Shoho, for example, where I'm not able to heal the damage from a previous fight because I kill enemies too fast and their heals don't come out before I finish a round. One issue with the preloaded airstrikes, however, is that they aren't as conducive to autoplay. This is especially true for fights where you start out at full health because the airstrikes are wasted when used in the beginning. Normally, I end up going manual during the first 1 or 2 sorties, then switch to auto after that unless I don't care about optimizing my healing and I'm feeling lazy. Also, to minimize the impact of the 90% cooldown increase on subsequent strikes, you can try using, say, a homing beacon aux to decrease airstroke load times by 4% and also equip faster launching planes. Now, in terms of damage, Perseus' aviation stat is below Shoho retrofit and slightly above Unicorn. Then again, her efficiency for planes taps out at 100% like I said earlier, while Unicorn goes up to 130%. And then Shoho goes up to 145% for her dive bombers, and then 135% for her torpedo bombers. All that being said, Perseus can still potentially outdamage both due to her preloaded airstrikes and Athena's catapult skill, provided that a fight ends quickly. If a fight goes on longer, then she starts to get outdamaged by Unicorn and then especially by Shoho. Also, while she may be a better pure healer, Unicorn and Shoho have a key advantage over Perseus in the form of fleet buffing. Shoho, for example, can boost the aviation stat of all carriers by 15% for 8 seconds after she launches an airstrike. And then Unicorn, meanwhile, increases the reload stat of your Vanguard by 15%. Perseus does have an advantage over the two for anti-airgun efficiency at 110% versus 80% for both Unicorn and Shoho. She also has the same plane loadout as Unicorn, with 1 fighter, 1 torpedo bomber, and 1 AA gun. This is in contrast to Shoho's 1 dive bomber, 1 torpedo bomber, and 1 AA gun, which makes Shoho do more damage, but also makes Shoho less ideal for stages that require better AA capabilities compared to Unicorn and Perseus. One other advantage Unicorn and Shoho have over Perseus that is unrelated to stats is that they are easier to acquire. I mean, if you happen to miss Perseus during her event, or had bad RNG luck before running out of cubes, you all know how that feels, then you'd probably be passive-aggressively mumbling like Perseus in a corner somewhere. On the plus side, Unicorn is still considered a Tier 0 healer, while Shoho is at Tier 1, which still makes them good healing options. Anyway, there you go, my review of the one and only Perseus from Her Majesty's Royal Navy. Overall, I like her a lot, and that's coming from someone who leveled up my Shoho retrofit to 120. Perseus has pretty much been my most used healer since I got her, and I've really been enjoying her mechanics. Add her excellent character design, plus an amusing personality, and I've been quite happy with her so far. I mean, I guess there are probably some people who don't like her personality, but I don't know. It's just that her mouthiness does not match what she looks like at all, which I think is pretty funny. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Azur Lane's mumbling, muttering, passive-aggressive angel of the battlefield? As always, please feel free to leave any thoughts or questions you may have in the comment section. Once again, this is Tabi Asobi, and thank you for watching.